Tactical Performance Center, the home of reactive shooting science.
The second element is seeing what you need to see, and this is where the focal
keep and preserve the same wrist angle.
Recoil is going to follow the line of the barrel and the action.
As I bring it to the target, I can see it, I can feel it, I can feel it,
The secret is to never lose track of where
See the red dot exists at that same focal plane, so I don't have to
gun and the target. Let's introduce the principle of relaxation and isolation of tension. Let's take an example. Dave, when you draw the gun really fast and you're right on spot, very accurate, how it feels like?
The best word I could use to describe it is it's effortless.
Correct, exactly, and that's the key behind each effective action.
And it's especially important when it comes to our stance.
Now, how to implement that principle in our reactive shooting stance? Dave, I want you to take your shooting stance, build your shooting stance now. Now, take a deep breath. Exhale about 70% of the air out of your lungs and just relax all the lower body, everything from the core below. Relax the knees, allow the ankles to flex and let the body to naturally sink into the ground. That will improve your stability. Now I'll make the push test. It's very, very hard to move you even a quarter of an inch.
Now, that reminds me of something. Let's make an experiment. Let's say that I didn't relax and sink my body into the ground. Let's say that I keep everything the exact same, but I'm going to keep tension everywhere. Because I really want to get that performance. I want to be very tense, right?
Good point.
So we're going to get in the same position. I'm still going to have my knees bent. Everything's going to be the same, but I'm going to lock everything together with tension throughout the body. I'm not just going to isolate.
I want to stiffen every single muscle in your body. Now, watch. 2 fingers, right? Watch this.
I was actually leaning forward into you to try to resist, and it just wasn't enough.
Now, build your stance using the principle of relaxation and isolation of tension. I will start with 2 fingers. Quite hard. Entire body weight and still cannot move you. Now, important keys here. We're talking about isolation of tension. We need to have only the certain tendons tense enough in order to have a better control over the gun. Just will mention that because that's part of the grip, but we need to keep your wrist stiffened, and also you want to keep your elbows stiffened.
Right, and the purpose behind that, we don't want our wrists and our elbows collapsing on us. We're not going to be able to get fast shots, accurate shots down range. So we do want that isolation of tension. We do want this to be stiff up here. But when it comes to managing that rearward force, if we get too tense, we're just kind of become an ice cube where someone pushes on you and you slide. We want to be a little bit more like Jell-O so that we can absorb some of that energy and allow our stance to return us to our original position.
If we place a block of ice on a table and then we push that block with the finger, it will slide and move as a solid, rigid object. If we replace the ice with Jell-O, with the same shape and size, and apply the same action, it will give, but will stay in place. We can use that analogy to explain what happens when the shooter's body is tense. If the muscles are contracted, they connect with the bones and the whole body can be moved as a single rigid piece, like the block of ice. If the muscles which are not required to be in use are relaxed, they will be able to absorb a big amount of the energy of the recoil and will help the skeleton to preserve the initial position. That will make the body way more stable.
All right, guys, let's talk about the second purpose of the stance: stability, mobility, and balance. Now, how do we achieve these three things? For stability and mobility, we're going to need to have our legs bent. Legs bent allows us to add tension to the legs and explode out of the position quickly in case we need to move, right? That gives us our mobility. It's also going to give us stability, right? We've lowered our center of gravity. It takes more force to push us off balance. But I want to differentiate two things. There's stability and there's also steadiness. Okay, so down here I'm very stable, I'm very mobile, but I'm not that steady when it comes to the sights. Why? Because I'm engaging large muscle groups to maintain this position, right? As opposed to relying more on the skeletal structure being straight up. Now here is going to be a little bit more steady with the sights. Down here is more stable and more mobile. All right, so you're going to have to find the balance that works for you. You may even change it depending on the tactic that you're using. Maybe you have a far, difficult target. You have plenty of time to take that shot. Maybe you have a close target. You need to make multiple shots and then get out of the line of fire. So when it comes to mobility, really the only way to create motion for the human body is to start with relaxed muscles in the legs and then to add that tension and explode out of that position. If we have too much tension already throughout our legs, the only way that we're going to start moving is if we first relax and then explode out of the position. It's going to require us to do two things instead of once. It's just going to slow us down.
When we talk about the biomechanics of an efficient movement, it's good to mention the principle of the spring. When we want to eject the spring in a certain direction, first, we need to compress the spring. Second, we need to orientate the spring in the desired direction. And finally, we simply release the spring and let it fly. The human body is moving in the same way. So in order to leave the position quickly or to get out of the X, we need first to load the spring, compress the spring, give the direction, and explode. So one more time. Compress, orientate, and explode.
All right, guys, when it comes to balance, regardless of the technique that we're applying, whether it's shooting on the move, awkward positions, behind cover, underneath cover, you can still maintain your balance just with that same forward center of gravity, regardless of the position that you find yourself in.
All right, we're back on the range again. What I want to talk about today is lowest relaxed point. And that's a concept that we use for every gun that we're shooting. What that means is I want to get my body as relaxed as possible down towards the ground, letting gravity take it. Muscles, joints, everything. So the idea here, if you look at me standing here, and what I'll do is I will breathe in, and you notice when I expand my rib cage, my hands raised 2 or 3 inches. So what I'm going to do now is just simply breathe out, relax my body down, and then I'm going to also relax my muscles in my abdomen and my legs and sink even. So here's where I just relaxed my rib cage. Now I'm going to relax my abdomen and legs. I just dropped another 1.5 inches. What this does is it allows you to shoot, and the gun won't go any lower than that when it returns. Whereas if you shoot from an elevated body, your gun's going to go up and down and oscillate more than if you shot from the lowest relaxed point. And now I'm going to relax my body all the way down as I described. Now that just stayed flat for me. It just didn't want to go any further. It reduced my oscillation by quite a bit. And you can use this to your advantage to shoot faster.
If you like the video, visit the online training page on our website or check the calendar section to sign up for our in-person courses. please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.